Hello students, I welcome you all to Current Affair Lectures by Azad ICS Academy, and today we are going to look into the current affairs of 14th of April. So before we go into details of the 14th of April, let us see the question that we had discussed yesterday. What is the Italy's long-term vision for tariffs? See, yesterday we had discussed a very important article which is saying that if there is trade war, then it is of no use for any of the a person who is buying or a person who is selling it, right? So they are basically focusing on zero tariff. They never discussed anything regarding the domestic market. They never discussed anything regarding the reduction in the 10% or applying any kind, or it is only applicable for luxury goods. Nothing as such was discussed. It was talking about the zero tariff so that there is a kind of a balance that is there, right? Now, today's first important article that we have is, will Trump's tariff bring in a recession? So yesterday itself, when I was discussing, I told you that there is a lot of issues when it comes to Trump's, tariffs. And we've also seen that there is a 90 days of cooling period, and maybe probably we're having some good negotiations as well. But let us see what is it exactly, right? So hence, there's a lot of issues that when it comes to Trump's tariff. And now we have a question: will Trump's tariff bring in a recession? Okay. So look, U.S. President Donald Trump unleashed a carpet bombing after a global trade system on April 2nd, with the higher tariff prices for among most goods, especially consumer goods, which will upward insignificant pain on ordinary Americans as well. So you can see that it's going to be issues when it comes to ordinary Americans as well. Okay. So hence, because of these kind of things, as you can see, there's a trade war also. And I've discussed yesterday itself in yesterday's lecture that the trade war is going to be of no benefit to anybody, right? So the US, once the strongest supporter of free trade and globalization, has announced a major change in its trade policy. As of April 2, the US declared it would now charge minimum of 10% tariffs on all imports. So look at this, what it is trying to say. It is going to charge minimum of 10% of tariff on all, or 10% of, tax on all, a tariff on all the imports that it's going to do, or whatever import that is happening. For all of the imports, you have to pay 10% more. And that is not a good sign, right? And this is as of April 2nd. So reversal of See, this was a country who said that we are going to do free trade and globalization is what they talk about. But now you can see that, they are doing this. While the market recalled with horror that scale of the tariff increase, China has vowed to fight till the end in what may turn out to be a prolonged and a bitter trade war. So here you can see China is saying that we are going to fight till the end. Unless whatever is going to happen, we are going to fight. This particular trade war is what China is trying to do, right? So let us see the reversal thing that has happened. So what is this all about? Reversal of US free trade policy. So US was the person, or US was the country who said that they are going to have a free trade. But now you can see there is a reverse thing that has happened. Tariff on imports from 60 countries. So here you need to understand that 60 countries have to pay tax or have to pay tariff, and a minimum of 10% of tariff is what USA is doing right now. Okay. Have been increased even more, including 20% of the European Union, 27 on India, and 46 on Vietnam. So these are the amount of countries or amount of tariffs that have been increasing. So here you can see it includes 20% of European Union, right? Here you can see 20%. It includes the tariff of 20% of European Union, 27% of India, and 46% of Vietnam. Earlier, US tariffs were around 2 to 3% for 2 decades, but now the sharp rise. So before it was just 2 to 3%. So you can see it was just 2 to 3% for 2 decades, means for 20 years, it was just 2 to 3% of tariff that we had to pay. But now you see minimum of 10%. So almost raise of 7 to 8%, which is a very huge margin, right? So hence, in February 2020, 25% were already placed on goods for Mexico and Canada, two of the US big trade partners. So you have to understand from February itself. So this, whatever they have told, is from April 2nd. Okay. But before this, from February itself, the amount has increased to 25% from Mexico and Canada, who are the biggest trade partners, or who are the two largest trade partners of USA. But the most severe impact is on the imports from China, which is now facing 145% tariff starting from April 11. So look at this. How much amount of money that they're going to, or how much tariff the China has to pay? It is 145% of, if you're going to import from China to US as of April 11, is now going to face a tariff of 145%, which is very huge, right? Right. So Chinese supply about 1/6 of all goods import to US. So they give around 1/6 of all the goods that they produce to USA itself, right? So this is another bad news for China, because they have to give that much money also, right? So market and global reaction: the sudden and the steep tariff hike has shocked global markets. So obviously there will be a lot of shock in the global market, which is not good at all. So stock market dropped sharply due to the uncertainty, because there is a lot of uncertainty. So you can see that stock markets are also getting dropped. So there is a lot of shock that's happening in the global market, and probably there could be a recession, because stock market is going to go down and a lot of things are basically going to happen, and US goods leading to fear of global recession as well. So hence, because of this, I think China has responded with 125% tariff. So if USA is going to put 145% of tariff, then China has also put as 125% of tariff on all US goods. And because of this, obviously, if you have to pay 125% of tariff, that means it's a very bad news for US goods. And this is going to lead to a fear of recession, because if nobody is buying the goods that are being, brought by USA, obviously there will be a recession in USA. On April 9, the US paused the new tariff for most countries for 90 days except China. So here also you can see whatever this exception is there, 90 days. Yesterday's class also we discussed that 90 days of pause has been done for all the tariff for all the countries, but except China. So China is exception for USA, right? So hence, this is another thing that we have to understand. This is also not good. So trade deficit and globalization. The US import more than its export, creating a trade deficit. So it's importing more than it exports. So hence, there's a lot of trade deficit that is going to get created for around 5% of its GDP in 2022. Despite this, it is continuing global purchases due to dominance of US dollars. Because US dollar is dominant, still they are going on purchasing. US supports the dollar by buying US treaty bonds and making both economies stronger link. Globalization has helped developed countries also, caused job losses in sectors, especially in steel and automobiles in USA. So if there is recession, there is going to be a lot of job loss as well. Now, China's response strategy. China has reduced its reliance on exports and US economy. So obviously, China is doing independence. It is doing a lot of indigenous production as well. So hence, they are going to become more independent. They are not going to depend on USA for a longer things. It exports to GDP ratio dropped from 35 in 2012 to 19.7 in 2023. So before it was depending 35%. Now it is depending only 19%. Over a period of time, it will become 0%. China has focused on technology innovation, electrical vehicles, AI, shifted production to other Asian countries, avoiding tariff. So it is not doing that. The production will not be happening there. It will be happening in some other countries where the tariff is very, very less. How is it going to impact India? Forget about everything else, but we have to focus on how this tariff is going to impact India. India export goods around 91 millions to US in 2022. So the new US tariff could hurt India's export income as well. So it's going to impact India's exports, because they are putting, so whatever we export to in USA, that is going to get affected because you have to pay tariffs there, right? Though pharmaceuticals and services remain unaffected. See, services that we are providing, the pharmaceuticals that we are providing are not affected, but the other sectors wherein we are doing in a lot of things, that is going to get affected. With the export forming 21% of India's GDP, damage may be limited. We may not have that much damage, but yes, there would be a little bit of damage. However, weak manufacturing capacity and limited impact on schemes like PLI remains challenged. India needs a strong industrial policy and more investment so that we are adjusting to this kind of global shifts. Not much, but yes, anyways, the entire global market is going to suffer, right? So the next important article that we have today is BAT Ecomon. Okay, India's first automated bat monitoring detection system. So let us see what is this bat monitoring system. So we have to understand BAT uses a kind of a eco-cardiology. Okay, sorry, wait, not eco-cardiology. It's called, there is some eco-navigation. Eco-navigation is, it gives out a eco. Okay, this is the BAT. It gives us a kind of a sound, and this will go and hit a particular thing and it comes back. So depending on this, distance, it can locate. So it's called echolocation. Okay, echolocation. So it can locate based on the echo. Echo is when you shout your name and you can hear the same voice back, especially when it is a mountain or something like that. If you shout something, your voice, you will be able to hear it back. So that is basically called echo. And based on this echo, you can find out the location of any particular person or a substance or something. Based on this principle, they have come up with a program, and that is called BAT Ecomon. Okay. It stands for BAT Echolocation Monitoring, India's first automated BAT monitoring system. It is developed by Kadambari Deshpande and Vedant Bajje at Indian Institute of Human Settlements, Bengaluru, right? So the system records, processes, and analyzes BAT echolocation calls in real time. So in the real time, they are going to, find out the echolocation monitoring system, how BAT does it. Okay. Now, it uses audio MOT as a ultrasonic detector and Raspberry Pi microprocessor for data processing. So what is a processor that is being used? It is using Raspberry Pi microprocessor. Now see, we have different microprocessors depending on how many pins we have. So it is using Raspberry Pi microprocessor, right? And they are using audio math. These are some of the specifications that you need to understand. A science and tech important question. So audio mod is something that they are using as a ultrasound. So they have to send some ultrasound waves, and these ultrasound waves are sent by audio mic, and they're using Raspberry Pi microprocessor. So all the data is being processed, right? So bat echo man isolates bat calls identified species using a convolution neutral network and generates spectrograms and statistical data. This is solar powered modular and can function up to 8 hours during in the day, or for 8 days without even the sunlight. It can function. Now, this device significantly reduces manual data processing. Currently, it can identify 6 to 7 common bat species with plan to expand its database. So what is it exactly? So I have told you the specifications. Now, what is it exactly? What are we going to do out of this? Right? See, monitoring bat activity by recording and analyzing echolocation call in real time. Identify bat species. So it's going to help us identify what is a bat species based on their unique call frequencies and patterns. Study the bat behavior and ecological across the different habitats. We will be able to identify what habitat this particular bat is living with. Okay, we will also be able to identify what are the different types of species of bats that we have, right? Generate statistical data on species-wise activity, peak hours, and call frequency, reducing manual effort. So we will not have to do any kind of manual efforts because of this kind of location or echolocation monitoring system that we have. Support ecological research. So hence, obviously, if we are able to, identify how many number of bats are there, it is going to, give us a lot of ecological research by providing faster and more accurate data, expand bat researches in urban, pre-urban, and forested areas, creating reference database for also lesser known bat species. So whatever we do not have information about such kind of bats in India, so all those kind of species can also be assisted or assimilated, or we can identify, conduct research on such kind of bats. Assisting conservation efforts as well by understanding the bat population dynamic. We can understand how much is the population of bats, etc., and all of that, right? Yeah. So let us see the question that we have for today. What is bat ecomon? Try to identify this. So hence see bat ecomon. Mon stands for monitor, eco stands for ecolocation. Bat is a species. So I try to identify what is this by this kind of things. And you can see every year UPSC is asking such a kind of question based on science and tech, where they are giving you a terminology and you have to identify what is that terminology basically. To try to identify this one as well. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's lecture. Thank you so much. If you have any suggestions, please put it in the comment section. Try to answer in the comment section as well.